Okay, so now let's talk about HD and base resolution and what it is and why it matters. So first thing, we will hide our background. I think we're going to hide the wings and hair, so we just have our base character. So basically right now, if we go into, let's turn on our statistics. They're on. If we go into select the character mesh, go into edit mode, and we'll see that our character has 16,556 vertices. So that is our base mesh resolution imported from DAZ. And the shape keys that we imported can only import to this number of vertices, 16,556. So if we take 1 and then delete the vertice, then we will not be able to import any more shape keys. Once you change the vertex count, either adding or deleting, you cannot import any more shape keys with DAZ importer. So that's why it's very important to do the merge geografts and the merge geografts last after everything else is done. So let's undo that, and let's save our file. So then, well, let's look at some of these. So we have Angry, EJCM Angry, HD, Div 2. So subdivision 2 means there are 2 subdivisions. So if we go into our modifier panel, we have 2 subdivisions, but you see the base character still has the same number of vertices. So even though we have a subdivision surface modifier and we make the character, we give the character an angry expression with the HD. Let's see if we can find it here. Nope, it's under expressions. And angry HD 1. So, or maybe afraid would be better. Nope, one of these. Shock. So these should, when the forehead moves up like that, you should see forehead wrinkles. You can't get any type of forehead wrinkles with base resolution 16,000 vertices. There's just not enough subdivisions. So even though we have this JCM over here, save one. Let's say we turn it on. It deforms the mesh, but it still doesn't give us the, I don't even know where it went. Oh, that was the angry. Let's try this again. Afraid? Let's try that one. So there's just not enough vertices there to give us the wrinkles and the geometry contained in those. I don't know why they keep disappearing, but contained in these shape keys. But there is a way to get that. So let's look at that. So we will turn these off. 0, 0. I'm actually going to reload. Open. Nope. Okay. So that is subdivision 2. So that is as we did subdivision 2, and you might think, well, let's just apply the modifier. Subdivision 2. Whoops. We cannot apply the modifier to mesh with shape keys. So we would have to delete all of our shape keys to apply the modifier. And I'm pretty sure the multi-res is the same way. Apply. Whoops. Yeah, same thing. Okay. Modifier cannot be applied to a mesh with shape keys. So, and that's kind of the whole purpose. We want to be able to use the shape keys. So there's a couple things we can do. We can bake these subdivision maps. So this subdivision will be this base mesh subdivided 2 more times, and then when we apply the high definition map, we will get the wrinkles. But that map has to be activated whenever we make the expression. The other way is to use this add-on, which is Zin's HD Morph, and this will allow us to use these subdivision 2 morphs and any other subdivision 2 morphs that we might add, or morphs that are converted into shape keys, to give us the definition that we need. Now, one word of caution: there are some subdivision 4, not shape keys, but subdivision 4 morphs in DAZ. But the problem is when you subdivide to subdivision 4, your poly count goes from 16,556 up to over 4 million. So once you start posing a character with 4 million vertices and all these high definition shape keys, pretty much slows Blender down to a crawl, makes it pretty much unusable. So this add-on is very new. So, and I haven't had a whole lot of time or experience working with it, but I'm going to go through and demonstrate what it can do and what a possible workflow might look like. So the first thing we're going to do is bake the HD maps that are subdivision 4, and then we're going to create an HD mesh. And after we create the HD mesh, we can import, actually it will automatically import all of these shape keys that we have in our base character, which is pretty cool. So once I get into it, it'll make a little more sense. So the first thing we need to do is go to, generate a working directory. This can be any directory on your hard drive. I just used C:temp. Maybe, yeah, C:temp. And delete temporary files. We'll delete the, basically we'll delete and overwrite files as you generate them. Unit scale is a variable you can change to increase detail in your maps. If you increase it too high, you'll generate some artifacts. So I did some experimenting with this. I think the range is 0 to 255, but I found anything over 1, actually anything over 0.1 would generate some artifacts that didn't look so good. So we're going to set this to 0.1 for our purposes today. It's a good place to start. And then basically if you want more detail, you can increase this number and see what the map looks like. And if you want less displacement or normal detail, you can lower this. 0.01 didn't seem to give enough, and 0.1 seemed to be a sweet spot. Base mesh is our character base mesh, still at 16,556. Geograph file, in case your character has a geograph. As far as I know, you can only have one on your figure right now, but I did use this a few times and it worked really well. So I'll leave the instructions from the author down below in case you want to try that out. So vector displacements, we can generate vector displacements or regular scalar displacements. Vector displacements, if I understand them correctly, they displace the mesh on X, Y, and Z axes, and that's in our case we're only really displacing up and down for wrinkles and folds and things like that. So you can use vector displacements, but in this case I don't think it's necessary. So we are going to generate a displacement map here, Obviously, you can generate normals or displacements, but since we're doing a still high-res image, I want the highest quality I can get. So we're going to do a displacement map and 4K and 32-bit EXR. And like I said, this is the highest quality you can get. The EXR is going to give you the best quality, but that comes at the cost of having really large displacement maps, and it takes more memory and probably longer to render. But that's what we're going to go with in this situation. So the select UV tiles, if you wanted to generate a normal or displacement map just for, let's say, just for the head, you could uncheck all these and just select 1001, which would be the map for just the character head. But in this case, we're going to generate maps for all of them, so we'll leave that unchecked. The maps we are generating are going to be for the shut it down. They're going to be for the Victoria 8 HD add-on, and let's take a quick look at that. Victoria 8 HD. So what we're trying to duplicate are these high-level details, and as far as I know, there are no free HD add-ons. These have to be purchased from DAZ. So since our character is based on Victoria 8, use the Victoria 8 HD add-on. But yeah, these are the details we're trying to replicate with these maps. So after purchasing that HD add-on, we'll click the plus, and this will take us to the DAZ my library directory. And underneath the morphs, we'll have our Victoria 8 HD morphs, DSF files. So in this case, we're going to bake out the full head morph level 4, and also the full body morph level 4. So we'll add those two files, and we'll leave the morph type to both. Base export modifiers, these are just the modifiers in your stack. I'm going to leave that to none. Starting subdivision level is 0, since this is our base mesh character. And max subdivisions is 4, since this is a subdivision level 4 morph from DAZ. And it should say this. It doesn't say it, but somewhere in here it says what the subdivision level is. But anyway, I think all of those HD add-ons from DAZ for the skin folds and wrinkles are level 4. And so we'll click generate bake textures, and we'll come back in a minute, apply them to our character, and see how they look. Okay, so our maps are generated. So we'll take a quick look at them. C:temp, and these are the generated maps. And you'll see a full set of maps were generated for both the FHM full head morph and the full body morph. But there is a difference. For example, the full body morph head morph didn't quite turn out correctly. See, it's very soft. There's no detail on the lips. The actual displacement map that we're going to use has the details in the lips and around the eyes, which is what we're looking for. So we'll make sure we use the head morph 1001, and we'll use the body morphs for 1002, 1003, 1004. This for the torso, arms, or torso, legs, and then arms. So this would be the detail around the knees, detail around the backs of the knees, and the feet, obviously. So, and they look pretty good. One other thing, if you can't open your EXRs, a good program I would recommend is Affinity Photo. It handles EXRs really well. Works a lot like Photoshop. The shortcuts and controls are very similar. And it's just a really good program to use, and the price is much more competitive than Photoshop right now. So would highly recommend. So let's move these maps to our texture directory. Just because I like to keep all my textures in the same place, it's good to know where after you generate your maps, where you're going to keep them. So I'll go back to the Terra 2 directory. Just copy that. And we'll open a new window. Paste. And so we want the head morph 1001, body morph 2, 3, and 4. The 5, 6, and 7, these are displacement maps for the mouth and the eyes, which I'm not going to use. So I'm not going to bother keeping them, copying them over at this time. But we'll copy these over to our character texture directory. And if you generate PNGs, you'll want to open up this JSON file with Notepad, Windows Notepad. And in here, it's not in for the EXRs, but for the PNGs, you'll see a mid-level or midpoint value, which is very helpful. That way you don't have to guess for your PNGs. EXRs, the midpoint is always, or the mid-level. I'll just look at it real quick. The mid-level is always 0 for EXRs. For PNGs, you'll be able to check that JSON file, and that will have a mid-level, should have a mid-level or midpoint value. It's probably 0.5, but I'm not entirely sure. So, okay. So let's, we'll apply our displacement maps. We'll apply it just to the face to see if we get the detail we're looking for. And go to view, camera view. We'll add them to the character over here. So face. One thing you'll need to make sure, and I'm just going to go do it right now for all of these, but by default, displacement is turned off for all your materials. So you have to go in and turn it on, displacement and bump for all your materials. And it's really frustrating when you forget. That's why I want to make sure I do it now. And then we don't have to worry about it. Okay, so face, face, we will add our displacement map. So we'll take, since these are all in the material directory, I'll just Shift D, copy one of these. Open up the displacement map for the face, which is 1001. That's the face map we just generated. Connect the UV into it. Shift A, add vector displacement. Color goes in the height. Mid-level will be 0. And the value that works the best, I found, is 0.001. At least in this situation. So 0.1 up here for unit scale when you generate your maps, and then 0.001 when you apply them. And then we'll plug it in. And since our face, lips, and ears are still the exact same material, I'm just going to copy and paste to save a little time. And actually I forgot, there's one other thing I want to do. The displacement will show up better without the skin material and subsurface applied. So I'm going to add a principal BSDF shader. Set the base color to middle gray, which is 0.18. That's 0.18 for all three values. Come on. That'll give us the middle gray, and we'll plug that into our surface. And basically, like I said, all it does is just give us a base gray color so we can see the details in the final render. And we'll reapply that to the lips and ears. And the last thing we need to do is make sure our character is actually subdivided to level 4. Right now, if we rendered this out, we would see no displacement because our character is still at base resolution. So we will apply a subdivision surface, level 4 at the render. We have a gray, we have our displacement bump turned on, and I think we're good. So let's see what our result is, see if we get the displacement that we're looking for. And this is our render result with only displacement applied. There is no bump applied to the character, no bumps, no normals. So you can see we got some detail in the lips, we got some detail around the eyes, pretty close to the original intention. Maybe not quite as much. Maybe we could play with this scale value a little bit, or we could play with the HD morph values a little bit if you really wanted to, if you wanted to get that extra little bit of detail. But I'm pretty happy with that, so we're gonna go with that for this project. So what we'll do is apply our displacement maps to the rest of our textures in the shader editor, and reattach our materials, run another render, and see what it looks like. Whoops, delete that. Delete that. Okay. So displacement and displacement map. We'll Control C copy. Put it in the torso. We want to select the torso map. It should be 1002. Connect that to displacement. Connect UV to UV. And I did not organize these. Normally I do. I didn't, just for the sake of this, just for the sake of time. But if you want to, you can make it look a lot nicer than I did. These are unused nodes. You know, usually we don't want our lines crossing each other, so if you want to make it look a little nicer, you certainly can. That's entirely up to you. Like I said, I just didn't in this situation, just to for the sake of time. So torso's done, face, lips, ears. We'll do legs and arms. Control V. Select the legs, which is 1003. Displacement to displacement, UV in. And arms, same thing, Control V, displacement, delete, and UV in. Okay. Whoops, I forgot to select the map. Select the map, 1004. Alright, so that should be our textures, and I'll make sure displacement and bump is on. Alright, so that gives us our displacement. We'll do another render with all the settings on, see if we get some of this detail, and then move on to the next. This is the result of our render with our HD map, HD displacement map applied. And you can see there's some additional texture in the lips. and some additional lines from the displacement map. Not a huge difference, obviously, but these subtle details really help to add to the realism of your character. If you get into creatures or maybe a character with a lot more folds and wrinkles, obviously you'd see a much larger difference. But for this character, this is about what we would expect. The next section of the HD Morphs add-on will generate another mesh at whatever subdivision level we want, and we'll copy all of the shape keys and all of the original morphs over to the new higher resolution mesh. Something we couldn't accomplish before. So let's get to it. Let's generate a new mesh. So our keep our working directory the same. We have to change our unit scale back to 0.01. It's very important. If you don't, your shape keys won't work. Base mesh stays the same. Geograph file if you have one. And we'll go to HD mesh generation. And yep, before we go any further, we do need to have our rigs showing. If they're hidden, it'll throw an error as well. So we'll do that. So to generate an HD mesh with morphed base, so this is if you want to, the HD files, the HD displacement maps that we generated, if you want to kind of bake that texture right into the mesh, you can, but you just have to keep in mind that those were level 4 displacement maps, displacement maps for level 4 subdivision mesh, which is a little over 4 million vertices. So if we were to import those here, we would pretty much have to subdivide this mesh 4 times and have a mesh with 4 million vertices. And once you start trying to pose that and you have all these shape keys operating on it, your Blender viewport is not going to respond too well. So that's why I chose to bake the HD meshes, the HD maps at level 4, and we are going to do our shape keys at level 2, because you see a lot of these shape keys are subdivision level 2. So we're going to skip that one. But if we did want to use that, if you do want to try that, it works the same way. You go into the Victoria 8 and you would bake the original FHM and FBM subdivision level 4 right into the mesh. That's how that works. And you might be able to use that with a multi-res. You might be able to use that some other way, but this is we're just going to go through the workflow I use, and you can adapt it from there. So we're going to skip that. HD subdivisions, we're going to go to 2 subdivisions. We're going to generate a rigged HD mesh. So basically it's just going to be this exact same mesh with a rig, only subdivided twice. Rigged with multi-res, I have not played with, so not sure exactly what that does. And the unrigged HD is just this without the rig. So you would have just a base mesh, no rig. Use Collada, keep checked. I think it's supposed to increase the speed. And copy base shape keys. So those are all of the shape keys that we imported into our base mesh when we first started. So all of the morphs and all of the shape keys will carry over. And we'll generate mesh. And this really doesn't take too long. It only takes usually a couple seconds. And then once we get our new mesh, the only problem is we have to reparent everything to it. So the clothing, the horns and whatnot, but that's okay. Okay, so here's our HD mesh. We're going to hide the original character and the original rig so that we're left with our HD mesh. And I guess I should copy the close over so that we don't violate any rules. So let's see here. I'll just move these over for now. So select all these and we'll drag and drop to the HD collection. And same with these. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. I'll do that in a minute. It's not quite as important. Alright, wings and hair, rigs, character, okay. Alright, so you see like the horns are still parented to the original mesh. Okay, so now we have our character. Go into edit mode, check the vertex count. Should be 262 something. Yeah, 262, 514 is the new vertex count, subdivision 2. Which is really great, but now we need to see why we did all that. So we'll zoom in just a little bit and see if we can get these meshes to, or these shape keys to give us the detail we're looking for. So face units, brow compression, HD. So if you notice, we have wrinkles in the brow, which I don't know if you remember or not, but we did not have those before. So it just gives an extra level of detail that we didn't have before. Oops. Same with the facial expressions. So if we go to smile, open, full face, there's this is how it looks without any shape keys. HD shape keys. So we will apply some of these shape keys. So what happened is these, I think these are supposed to be driven, the EJCM smile open full face, and it usually is, but I think since we imported some additional smile open full face, probably doesn't know which one to use, I'm assuming, because neither one are working. So that's okay, because it gives us the control, the ability to pick the one we like the most. So if we like that one, we can leave that one, but you can see the details in the eyes and the details around the smile, which really, when you render it out, you'll really see that additional detail and really add some realism to your characters. Plus, with this, you can import pretty much any morph that's made for DAZ at pretty much any resolution and make it work. So it's a really pretty phenomenal add-on. So there's the Victoria 8 and Smile HD JCM. You can see the additional details there. So there again, you can choose which one you like, mix and match, however you like. So that's that. That's the JCM import, or the HD morph import. So we'll clear that out. I think next we'll parent the clothing and the other things we need to parent to the character. Then we can pose and do our final touches and then do our final render. So let's get rid of the smile and we'll clear any shape keys the character might have. See if we left any in here. And just one. So there we go. Okay. Character's back to the base. We'll reparent these. So these should be parented to the original mesh or the original rig, which was Genesee female 002. So we're going to reparent them to go into the object properties, reparent to Genesis female.001, which is our new mesh, and what to do these for all of these. So we can just do this, I guess, be easier. And this is a little bit of a pain to reparent everything, but it's okay. It only takes a minute. All right, and let's see, the wings and hair. The hair we never parented yet, which is good. I'll show you how to do that in a second. The wings, I don't think they were parented either yet. They're just kind of hanging out. So we'll move this whole collection down under the HD collection. And do a test pose to see what's parented and what isn't. Alright, there we go. And posing, import pose. As you can see, I already pulled one up from the desktop. This is a free one I downloaded. You can purchase, there's like a zillion packs on DAZ if you want to buy some, and you can search around and find some free ones here and there. So we're going to just do a test. For this, normally when you're importing a pose, you can leave all these boxes checked just the way they are. Once you get into trying to do poses for certain bones, not the entire armature, then you can do select the bones only, and then you want to uncheck some of these other ones, but that can be a little tricky sometimes. But generally just importing one pose is pretty straightforward. So we'll import one pose, see what moves and what doesn't. So the clothing really didn't move with the character. So in order to keep the clothing moving with the armature, we need to parent to the armature. Then when we pose the character, the clothing will follow. And there we go. Now we'll do a quick test pose again. Import pose. Whoops. We gotta go in pose. Actually, we don't. Just select it from wherever we are. And there's that. And obviously we have some issues there, which we knew about when we started. So with this free flowing clothing, probably better off using the simulation or just posing it yourself. So in that situation, I think I'll unparent that from the armature, or maybe parent it to a bone. Let's try that. Select the garment, hold down the shift key, select the armature, pose mode, select the bone you want to parent to, let off the shift key, control P, parent the bone. And I just realized the screencast keys are not on. Sorry about that. Oops. Alright, so now it's parented just to this bone. So as just this bone moves, this will move. So let's see if that helps. Import pose. Bam. And it does. Pretty close. We can either go into edit mode or sculpt and move it out, put it where we need to put it. But the clothing that fits tightly reacts much better. So pose isn't too bad. We might end up using that. Alright, so edit, undo. That's pretty much what we want. Let's parent the other objects. So we'll bring in the wings and hair. Select the hair. Guess when we select over here, we'll have to hold the control key. And then we can go back up and hit the shift key again. Go into pose. And we want to parent it to this very top bone. Control P, parent to bone. Now, when we move the character, the hair should move with it. And then we still have the bones with the hair that we can pose separately. Okay, so we're just going to do what I normally do and parent the object to a bone for the main character. So select the object, hold the shift key, select the main armature, pose mode while holding the shift key, select the bone you want to parent them to, and control P, parent the bone. Oops. Back into the pose mode, select the, yep, go back into pose mode, and we'll pose the character. Wrong one. Come on. There we go. Dark ponytail hair, that's the wrong one. Here we go. And the almost works, so we'll join these. Select the, go back to pose mode, select this part, shift select, oops, select this part, shift select the other mesh, and control J. Alright, now we'll see if we can still pose it. Pose mode, rotate, and they still move just like they're supposed to. Rotate, and then the character will import a pose, see if the wings move, and they do. Everything moves together. Alright, that's that. And we'll work on the horns. So bring these down into our HD collection. And we'll parent these. So select the horns. From this panel, we'll hold the control key, select the Genesis female rig. Go over to pose mode, hold the shift key, and select the very top bone. And then, like our shift key, control P, parent the bone. And now we should be able to rotate the head, and the horns follow. And we can hide our original mesh. Okay, so let's do a couple housekeeping items. I always like to keep all the rigs together. It's just nice to be able to hide them so you can view your progress. So we'll select our main character rig, hit the M key. Speaking of which, turn the screencast keys back on. Okay. Select the rig, M. We're going to move to a new one, call it rig. Very creative. And we'll hide that. Same with the wings, move to rig, and ponytail, move to rig. Alright. And we have our wings and hair. And we'll move the horns up to that collection as well. So if we want to, we can hide that. And we'll move this collection outside. So now we have our rig, wings and hair, and the character with clothing. And the original character, I think we can, yeah, we can delete that now. Actually, what we'll do a final save, and then we'll delete that. So we're ready to join the eyelashes. At this point, I would merge any geografts, and we'll convert our rig to MHX or Rigify. So I'm going to do a final save, and then we'll save as the next version, 14. Save. That way, if there are any issues, I can always come back to that previous version and change things. If I need to add a morph or something like that, I can change those things and then just come in and reparent these couple things and go from there. So, okay, so the original character we can delete. I didn't do it right. Edit, undo. Character, select, delete hierarchy. There we go. Lights, I'll probably end up deleting those, but we'll just wait a minute. Okay, and we'll rename this character. Character rig, wings and hair. Okay. So select the lashes, shift, select the character, Control J to join. Now we'll do a test, make sure it works. Expressions, see the eyelashes move with the mesh. Alright. And Geografts, we don't have any, so we can't join. And this is the message you get after, actually, at this point, we've already converted our base mesh to subdivision 2, so we wouldn't be able to copy shape keys or do any of that stuff anyway. So merge geographs would have already been done as well. You would only do that on the where is that finishing? Merge geographs. You only do that on the base mesh. And we will convert to MHX. Bring our rigs back. Select the character rig. Where is it? There. And convert to MHX. Now, if we would have merged all of these, the hair and the wings, and we convert, you can convert the Rigify as well if you prefer. Once I leave all these the way they are. I'm not sure exactly what all these do. Not very good at the bones and drivers and whatnot. So click OK, convert to MHX. But yeah, if we would have merged all these would all disappear when we convert to MHX, and I would assume Rigify. And the reason we convert to MHX is to make posing easier. So with MHX we have the IK bones for the hands and feet, and we have the thing for the eyes, which is really cool. Just have to turn it on. So we installed MHX when we first started. It has its own panel after you convert, and you can turn layers on and off. Here are the eyes if you want to move the eyes. We just go into post mode, select the eyes, and G for grab, and the eyes will move around with the target. Escape. The FK IK, real quick for those who aren't experienced in posing. So in MHX we have these switches. Right now when these values are 1, for the left arm, when that's 1, that means the IK is on. So we can grab this IK bone and IKL for left. Grab with the G, and we can move the arm around. Move it, and move camera, R for rotate. And it's just a really convenient way to move the arm where you need it. And if you want to pull the elbow out, G. There you go. Okay. And same with the feet. Grab. Bam. It's just it's much easier than grabbing the thigh, rotating it up, grab the calf, rotate it back, grab the foot. It's just so much quicker to do this. So it's really just to save time. Alright. Now when you want to turn the IK off, you come down to these, and let's say I want the FK back on for the left arm and right arm. So whatever you want on, you click the button. So we want FK for the arm on for the left and for the right, and you'll see our IK bone disappear. And now we have to pose with the individual, the forearm, rotate down, upper arm, rotate in, or so that's kind of how posing works. The MHX rig. Alright, so we'll reset. Go back to the DAZ importer, posing, clear all pose, puts back to the rest pose. Okay, so I'm going to go with that pose that I've been playing around with. So let's import that. That is the one we're going to use. And these are just, like I said before, these are poses I pulled off the web. They were free. I think they're on Renderosity. So let's apply one of these. Central pose 15. And that's pretty good. We're gonna tilt the head down, tilt the neck down, tilt the head up a little bit, erase the eyes. Then we're gonna have some light shining down from the top. Oops. So let's bring our background in. And the very first thing we do is put the feet where they need to be. Pose mode, grab the base and grab on the Z axis. We'll lift the character just straight up. And foot's a little tilted, so we'll straighten that. Rotate. And grab on the Z again. Okay. And the back foot. Pretty close. I guess we could bring it down just a hair. So we'll rotate till the toes are touching. A little more. There we go. Alright, and so once the feet are where they need to be, let's start working on the camera. So view, and zoom out, and we'll figure out what parts we want to frame here. Hide the rig. Alright, so now let's give her some of those facial details that we spent so much time and effort bringing in. So let's bring the brow together. So we'll go to the DAZ importer and morphs, go to face units, brow compression HD, 0.75. We'll bring the brows in, and let's see, move the left brow up a little bit. And eyes relax. Let's give her kind of a menacing look, but also a little bit of a smile, kind of an evil smile. It's kind of what we're going for. The eyes, do a simple smile. That way the mouth isn't open. Alright, simple smile left. 0.450 and 0.20, and let's see, we'll do a nose wrinkle. That'll give us a little more wrinkle up here. Maybe a little too much. Let's take it to 0.6, and let's go back to our, since we do have a smile, let's get a few more wrinkles in the face. Let's do smile. And we'll hide that. So let's do, let's see what this gives us. Nope. Nope. Not like that. Let's do, that's not that great. There, that's not bad. Alright, maybe not the greatest expression in the world, but actually the other thing we'll do is we'll fine tune the smile a little bit with our posing. So let's bring our rig back, give it a little more of a smile up there. And so we don't have our face bones turned on, so let's go into the DAZ importer. Actually, I'm sorry, the MHX panel. We have to be in pose mode, and we'll turn on the face, and let's see, turn off the head, and maybe the spine. There we go. Face. So we'll grab this, maybe this, and this, maybe this. We'll just kind of grab those a little bit, maybe rotate just a little bit, and it's not too bad. I don't go too crazy. Maybe we'll undo some of that brow furrow. I really wanted to get some of the detail in there, and that's kind of why I was trying to do that, but might not look right. But we'll give it a render. We'll see how it looks, and go back and adjust. So I did a test render. This was the result. A lot of obvious issues I need to correct. The wings are going through the throne here. These glass orbs are still yellow. I'd like to change those to red. And just basic character position, camera position, move some things around. So I went ahead and did all that offline, and this was the result. So I'll just quickly go through the changes I made so you can get an idea, because I really wanted to focus on the mechanics of getting from DAZ to Blender instead of spending a lot of time on how to position lights and cameras and things like that. But we'll go with lights first. So let's see, these are the 3 lights I added, and let me find, this was our fog. Alright, so the first thing I did was add a spotlight coming in from the outside and give it a blue tint to simulate the maybe like the nighttime, the moonlight. And I also made sure these spikes were in, so we got those nice shadows on the ground. And then I wanted another light casting down on the character, so this was my key light on the inside, cast straight down on the character. And I colored this one just a little bit yellow, so we could get just a little yellow tint on the character's skin. So I had nice sharp shadows coming in from the outside, yellow light coming down from the top on the character, and then there were really dark shadows on the character's face and the eyes. So to illuminate those, I put a spotlight straight into the character eyes that lightened up the face, lightened up these shadows, and also gave me the specular reflection I was looking for in the corners of the eyes. So, and you can see it's very, very noisy because of that light, so that'll take a lot of samples to render out, but that's okay. And I changed the materials to those orbs, which was pretty easy. All I did was change the color from yellow to red. So this was the color previously. So I always like to just leave it there because that was the original. And if you go to Shift A input RGB, you can change your color to whatever you want, and then that way you keep the original color. It's just a thing I like to do. Alright, and then there was also another color in the caustic setup here, so I changed these colors to get these rendering red. And move the camera, position the character, and like I said before, it's not so much mechanics, that's more the artistic side of the render here. The fog, just put a box in there, and this was my node setup. I probably should have refreshed my memory and watched the tutorial. This probably isn't the best node setup, but it gave me the effect I was looking for, so without having to put too much time into it. And let's see what else. So that's pretty good with that. It's pretty happy with that initial result. So there's a couple things we have to do now. There's the it's tough to see it here, but the scalp for the hair is intersecting the head mesh, which happens pretty much every time. So anytime you have this scalp intersecting the forehead, it's usually going to give you some black lines across here. So we just select the scalp and apply a shrink wrap modifier to it. Again, okay. Scalp and modifier, shrink wrap modifier. And we'll do, now this one you can do, if we could probably put this scalp on the inside since you're not going to see it, but we'll leave it on the, actually I don't think we can. I think we have to use outside for this one. And the target, we'll just use the character and put the distance as low as possible and just keep going up until that goes away. Whoops. And there we go, 0.02. This is transparent. This part of the scalp is transparent, so we're not going to see it. So it's okay if it's sticking out just a little bit. And you can see it protrudes just a little bit, but like I said, it's sticking out from. So might be able to use a negative number and put it inside the scalp. Let's try that. The reason we use outside here is because I'm thinking if we use any of the other ones, it's going to flatten the hair. So let's try on surface. Yeah. So basically any other setting is going to take the entire hair mesh and shrink wrap it to the head. So we can't use any of the other ones. So we use outside, and let's try a negative value. Yeah, that would probably work. Maybe not. Nope, never mind. What was it? 0.02. There we go. Okay, that'll work. And especially the character's far enough away, you won't see it. The other thing you can do is you can put a transparency on this scalp part. That might help. Or just go into edit mode and select it and delete it. Join the hair to the character. Alright, next was the... Let's go to our image. Took care of that. I think the eyes are illuminated enough. And it's a little bit of more bump than I'd like to have in the skin. So we can adjust the bump for the legs, torso, and arms separately from the face. So we're going to do that. But if you would just adjust the bump on the arms and not the torso, you might see it on the seams, especially with like a rim light. You'd see a difference in the reflection. So we'll just change those real quick. Go into torso, adjust the bump down to 0.0. What was it? 0.1, right? We'll go 0.06. And we'll do legs, bump, wherever it is, 0.06, and arms, bump 0.06. And we can get away with it on the face because the seam is behind the jawline and underneath the chin, so it's the seam's pretty well hidden and up around underneath the hair. So you can keep those separately. Next we'll do, I think we'll do a little bit of the clothing. See how the clothing is coming off the character here, creating a weird shadow. So you can tell the clothing is sitting above the character. Plus also the clothing is real thin, so I always like to add a solidify. And there's some poke through here, so we'll fix that here real quick. And let's start by adding a solidify modifier to this. You can see it really sitting up above the character there. So we'll add a solidify modifier and turn it way down. And we just want a little thickness. That's pretty good. Alright, that's pretty good. And let's see which way it's going. So if it's negative, it's going, I think, towards the character. If it's positive, it's going away from the character. So change that to 1, and you see how it goes away. It basically thickens the material on the outside away from the character. So for this material, we want towards the inside, and then see if it looks better above the subdivision surface. It does. So we'll move it up above the subdivision surface modifier in our stack, and we can do just a little sculpting to bring that down. So we'll go into sculpt mode and go into grab, and it's a little laggy, so I'm gonna select this and the character and the clothing because we're on YouTube, and we'll do forward And now we'll sculpt. Alright. Sculpt. Grab. Do F. Still seems a little laggy. That's alright. Alright, so we'll just grab and we'll pull this down. Right where we think it's going to rest on top of the skin instead of floating above it. And we only have to do the part that's going to be seen by the camera for this particular project, for this particular instance. So that should be pretty good there. Pull this down back here, just in case. And then you see how some is going through, so you can either use a grab tool and pull it back up, or you can use the inflate tool, inflate sculpting brush, and inflate that a little bit if you want. But that should work pretty good. Alright, that should work pretty good. And I don't know if we can see this side or not. Yeah, we can't really see that side, so I'm not going to bother bringing it down too much. Maybe just this part, because that's the part we see. So that looks okay. And also, is it intersecting? So we'll do F. Bring it out a little bit. Bring it out a little bit. And then same with this. That looks alright. Okay. Alright. And that looks pretty good. It looks like it's what's supposed to be on top up here. Let's see. I think this other piece is probably, well, no, not there. What is that? So let's select this other piece. That is apparently supposed to be on top. And we'll do the same thing. We'll add a solidify modifier and we'll pull it out. I guess. Actually, we're not going to see that part, so I might just hide it. Hide the part up here. Yeah, it's supposed to be underneath. So let's grab that and sculpt. Same thing, we're going to grab, just pull it under so we don't see it. Pull it under here. Whoops. Probably use them. We'll do inflate, but we'll do the opposite. We'll do the negative F to. I forgot to turn my screencast keys on. Alright, let's do that right now. Screencast, rookie mistake. Screencast, back in this sculpt mode. And F to make our brush bigger. Pull these down in. Oh, we're on inflate, which is what we wanted to do. So we're on actually deflate, which is doing the opposite. Alright, so none of those are working. Control Z, go back to grab. I know that works. Grab. Grab's just the easiest, the simplest, and it just works. Make it smaller. Just grab this edge, pull it under. And we'll go there. Grab this edge, pull it under. Alright. Pull this under. And there we go. And we won't worry about that because, like I said, it's in the back. And we could probably add a thickness modifier to this too. Probably should have done that first. But let's add it and see what it does. Might have to adjust it a little more. You just subdivision surface modifier as well. So we'll do a solidify. Do it, we're going to do this one outward. 0.002. What was it again? What was this one? 0.0015. That works pretty good for that. 0.0015. And Alt A to deselect. And that's pretty good. Gives us some thickness there. And write a subdivision surface. And you can see it coming through just a little bit. So we'll select that. Back into sculpt mode, grab, and just pull back underneath again. F to make it big, pull it in. And that should be good. Okay. Alright. So that's good for that. That's good for that. I'm not going to add a thickness modifier to this. It actually looks pretty thick already. So we can leave that one alone. Gonna add a subdivision surface, see if we like it. Yeah, it adds a little bit. That's nice. Alright. And that part's done. We do need to sculpt that a little bit. We'll sculpt it around the belt once we adjust this loincloth belt thing. So we'll add a solidify. 0.001. Whoops. 0.015 is what we're using. And let's see. Oh, that's by design. It's supposed to be like that. And we'll pull this out a little bit, and then that should be about it. And then we'll adjust these a little bit. All right. So, sculpt mode. Grab. There we go. Piece cake. And that looks pretty good. Well, I don't think we'll see that, so I don't have to worry about it. Really want to, you can pull it out a little bit. Alright, and they were part of something else. Oh, and this is intersecting with the mesh too. So we'll grab that. And see if we can't pull it out. Actually, yeah, we'll keep trying to pull it out. Yep, there we go. We'll just pull it out and then move it around, sculpt it the way we want it. So we'll move this over. And then we'll do a little inflate and deflate. So we'll try to inflate this left side and deflate the middle. Let's see here. Inflate this. Where it been moved out by the leg. And then we'll deflate the middle. Just a little bit. That'll just give it a little more dimension and make it look like it's actually part of the, or being moved around by the character. And then we can, let's see, we'll do a little inflate there. And I'll have to grab that. Move it out. That gives us a little wrinkle there, which is it's good. And then we'll hit smooth. And this is something no one would probably ever notice unless it doesn't look right. And then everybody notices it. Alright, smooth. Put the strength way down, maybe like 0.2. And we'll just smooth the smooth that out a little bit. And that's pretty good. Alright. Real quick, I want to move these things in. Again, grab. And same with this one. Actually, that one's not too bad. We could move it over, but actually that doesn't look bad at all. This kind of looks weird. Grab that a little bit. Alright. And did we add a thickness to this? Yes, we did. No, we didn't. That's the wrong one. We did add the solidify to that, and we'll do a subdivision surface. And there we go. That should be good for clothing. We'll do a render, test render, see if we missed anything. But it's always good to solidify the clothing, because usually clothing is paper thin and it doesn't look very good, doesn't look very real. But I think that looks a little better. Okay. Except for this. No, that's right. Okay. Alright, let's see what's next. And we'll hit the /, bring everything back. These parts we don't have to do anything with. Just make sure they have a subdivision surface. And that's sticking out a little bit. Probably push that back. Sculpt mode. Grab F to make it bigger. Move it back. Oop. Make it bigger. Move the whole thing back. Except for that part. Alright. And I think that's about all I wanted to do. Let's look at our render, see what else we had. Oh, I wanted to make these horns, the glossiness on these horns kind of match the wings a little bit. So let's check those out real quick. Viewport. We'll check this. If you hit the period over here, it'll take you to whatever you have selected in the viewport. So inner wings, our roughness is actually we're on this part. Wing right and wing left. Specular 0.06 and roughness 0.285. So we're going to do the horns close to that. 0.06 and we'll do like 0.3. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. Alright. And we'll do a Control B will give you a render box, so you can render just one small part. And another thing, when you're rendering for lights and you're just kind of test rendering, this simplify works a lot. It speeds it up a lot. So you can put your max subdivisions down to 1 and your texture limits down to 128 or 256, and child particles down to 1 if you have particles, which we don't, and same with volume, it'll lower, but basically it lowers everything, so it renders much faster. So if we're just test rendering in a viewport, we'll get a result much faster. And that does add quite a bit of gloss to those. So maybe but it also makes it much sharper. So maybe we'll spread it out just a little bit, which I think would probably be in the specular setting. Bump that back up to 0.4. And maybe put this up to 0.4. So, alright, that'll be good enough. And I think that's it. We'll do a test render and see if there's anything left. So this is our final image result after 10,000 samples. Let it render overnight. It took about 7 or 8 hours. And you can still see some noise in around the face. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. We can certainly look at around the neck area. Some ways we can take care of that. And decided to render in multi-layer EXR and edit the individual layers. That's where I normally do it. So I figured I'd do that as like normal and walk through that process in case anyone is interested in that. So let's go to our image editor, which is Affinity Photo is what I use. And Affinity Photo is able to open up all of the EXR layers. So once it saves out as an EXR, we can open it in Affinity, and basically in Blender you tell it what layers you want it to save. So these are the layers I selected. I selected basically everything under light. These are the most important ones: the direct, gloss, or I'm sorry, diffuse, glossy, and transmission. With those, you can recombine your image. Most of the other things, well, probably volume and emission environment as well. But if you have all of these, you can reconstruct your image in a program like Affinity. The Z pass isn't necessary because I didn't put depth of field on, because I use mist. Mist is kind of another way to mimic depth of field if that's what you're looking for, and always have denoising data. That'll help us get rid of some of this noise around the neck and face area. And I think that was from our spotlight, where we had a very small concentrated light source, because all 3 lights in the scene are spotlights, but this one is the only one that generated noise. So I would assume that's why. But anyway, and I also enable cryptomats for masking in case I want to export a mask. Let's say I wanted to export a mask for the character skin or the character's eyes or something like that. I can go into the compositor, which we'll do that in a little bit here. Go into the compositor and we can export a mask. So let's start putting our image together. So the first thing we can do is delete all of the cryptos. Anything that says crypto, we don't need that. And the denoising, oops, oh darn it. The denoising we're not going to use in our image editor, so anything with denoising we can get rid of. And let's see here, so the 3 diffuse, we're going to Control G, group them together. This will be the diffuse. And what we do is put the direct up top. So the direct is a multiply, and I'm sorry, direct is add, indirect is add, and the color is multiply. And then the whole group itself is add. And we do that for the diffuse, for the gloss, and for the transmission. So Control G, this will be our gloss layer, and move the colors already first. That will be multiply. Direct and indirect will be add, and gloss will be add as well. And you can make a macro to do this automatically. I actually have one, which is really nice. So you don't have to do it every time. But I figured I'd go through it this way so you can see how it's done. Control G, this will be transmission. And the color is multiply. These are add. And transmission is add. And this formula, this add and multiply these layers. If you go to the Blender website, it'll have the way to recombine these passes. It shows how to do it. Basically, you can do this in a compositor as well, in the Blender compositor. So you can take your passes, add, multiply, and add them all together, and get the same result. If you wanted to do it in Blender, you certainly can. The reason I don't is because it's much faster to do it outside of Blender, just because Blender just seems a bit slow. So, alright, let's move these up to the top. And I'm going to turn everything else off. And there we have our image. And we should have, this is our combined image, this is the original image. You see there's no exposure on it, and there's also no, actually it does look like filmic was applied. I don't think I have filmic applied, so I guess we don't need to. That's another thing. If you go to Affinity Photo's site, there are some macros. One of those macros is the filmic macro, color transform, I believe it's called, filmic color transform. So you can download the macro, put it in, and that way when you export, when you have filmic applied, let's say we have medium high contrast. We can't see it in this loaded image, but if you have medium high contrast on your render, and then when you render it out, it doesn't have that contrast because it renders it out or saves it out without it. When you go into Affinity Photo, you can reload your filmic and bring back that medium high contrast, which is really nice. Okay, so just to show you that it is the same image, we'll turn this one off, turn this one back on, and there it is. Okay, so there's our base image recombined, and that's really cool, but what do we do with it? So let's see if there's any emissions. Whoops, turn it on. So we got to bring our emissions layer back. Now if you hold the Alt key and select one of these, it will isolate it. You turn it on, but it will isolate it. So there's our environment light. You can see it's just one little bit up there. So these are, I know this one's add, I think this one's add too. So we'll add these and bring them up, just keep everything nice and tidy. So we turn them off. Yeah, you can see that black. When we turn it back on, the emission comes back on. Which actually I might even like it better without. No, not that. Yeah, I kind of like it without. I think I'll leave it out. And let's see what else. There's view layer combined. I don't think. No, we'll delete that. We don't need that. Z depth is for when you have the depth of field on your camera, which is a whole nother thing. So I don't think that has any information in it, so we'll delete that. Mist pass, we'll look at that in a minute. Noisy image, we don't need. Noisy, we don't need. Normal, we don't need. Shadow layer, let's look at that and see. This is basically showing us our shadows, so we can multiply that into our image, or maybe mix it in somehow and darken the shadows and maybe brighten the character and the highlights a little bit. But we'll look at that and see what we want to do with that. volume, direct and indirect. So let's see if there's anything on these. Oh, you can see it right away. So I would assume these are supposed to be add. I'm not really sure. The other nice thing about Affinity is as you go down through the mix modes, you can see the real-time effect in your screen, which is pretty nice. So that's normal. That's add. They look about the same. So we'll just add. And move this up here. Okay. So that's our image. We're not going to use that. So all of these are our image right now. And the AO, we can use that to add some contrast and give us some extra shadows, kind of like the shadow pass. But we'll explore that a little bit, see what we can do with it. And like I said before, the mist pass, if we hold the Alt key and hit that, we can. So what we can do with this, what I like to do is put a levels adjust on it, and everything in black will be clear. I'll make it a mask, levels and then mask. I'll show you. Everything in black will be clear, and then you can blur everything in white or lighter colors. But might not be able to do that because of the fog. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so let's go back to this, and we'll save it out. And the other thing I want to do is I want to bring in, I don't think I need any masks right now, but I definitely want to hit Control Plus. Should have a little noise around the face. So I'm going to get rid of that. Probably don't absolutely have to, but I want to do it just because it's there and it bothers me. So we'll go back into Blender. And in Blender, we'll go to the compositor. We'll actually just make it full screen compositor. And use nodes. And we will load in our... Actually... Nah, I should not. We'll load in our image. And input, image. And we'll open... And desktop, that's where I had it saved. Alright, and we can delete that. And we can see, we should be able to see the image now in the backdrop. Maybe not. I always forget how to make this work. One of these does something. Maybe not. That's alright. We can pull up the image editor, and we can do a Shift A output. Not that output. Shift A viewer. There, that's why. There we go. Now we can see it in the background. And then if you want to see it over here, you could go to Viewer Node, and you can see it there. That's funny because now it looks like it applied our exposure. I guess because we're back in Blender. Alright, oops. Let's close it back out. Ah, thing's annoying. So this is our image with exposure. And what I want to do is look at the noisy layers, and I'm going to save out just copies of those layers. So if we go back to Affinity and look at some of the individual layers, hold the Alt key, your color is pretty much not going to have noise because it's just color information. The direct and indirect are usually where the noise is. We look at the diffuse direct, we can really see the noise around the face and the eyes. So if I bring that denoised layer in and mix it with this, I should be able to lower that amount of noise. And that's what we're going to do here. So we'll also look at the gloss. Same thing with the gloss. If you hold the Alt key, select that. That's just color. And we have gloss direct and gloss indirect, so you can see some noise around the face. And you can see a lot of noise there, but I don't think that comes out in the final. And then the gloss indirect, same thing. Noise, actually that's pretty noisy everywhere. I think the indirect is always pretty noisy. So if I wanted to, if I really needed a crisp, sharp image, I could add some to that. But when dealing with skin, it's okay to have a little bit of noise because there's some inherent roughness in the skin, so it looks okay. Alright, so let's bring in the diffuse direct denoise layer. Diffuse direct denoise layer. And if we look at this image in the image editor, back to viewer, come on, viewer node, it is not updating because that is not correct. Oh, that's why. No? Oh, because we didn't denoise it. I have a node set up that just automatically goes into here, so I'm not totally crazy. All right, so let's do filter, denoise, bam. We'll do our we should have denoising normal, and we should have denoising albedo. And now we see our face has no noise on it, which is what we're looking for. And now we'll take this image and save. Image, save as, and we'll do just the diffuse, indirect, denoise, EXR. This does not need to be a multi-layer, it can be just a standard EXR. Save. And we'll go back into this one. And a couple different ways you can bring another image in. This is probably just as easy as any of the other ones. So we have this alpha we don't need, we can delete that. We have this denoise layer, so we'll copy that. Control V, paste. Whoops, where'd it go? There it is. So now what I like to do is just, you can see the noise is gone. So if we add this, and so this is at 100%, this is at 100%. We would change these each to 50%. We have a little bit of noise left, but really substantially lower, but not so denoised and so smooth that we lose the detail in the skin. So I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but it seems to work pretty good for me. You can change those percentages if you want, maybe a little less denoising. You can see just a little bit of the noise came back, but that's entirely up to you. I think I like the 50-50. So we'll keep it there. All right, pretty good. First thing we'll do is add an exposure. We'll just kind of group all these. Control G. This will be my main image. And then when I make changes to the whole image, it'll be outside of that. And so the first thing I'll do an exposure and just bring it up one. It was 1.7 in Blender. A little high. Actually, we'll keep it at 1.7 because the next thing we do is going to lower it a little bit. So, and then we'll look for noise again. It looks pretty good. It's all gone. And so next thing I want to do is bring out the shadows a little bit. So we'll look at the shadow layer. And first thing I want to do is duplicate it duplicate it. And then let's try to lower it down to 50%, and we'll see what overlay or soft light does. So soft light at 50%, let's put it at 100% to see the full effect. And really, you can see it really darkens the shadows, and especially in the eyes where we don't want it. But it really darkens the shadows and leaves the highlights of the character alone. So there it is without it. That's pretty good. I like that. That's good. Let's see. AO, we can do the same thing. We can that one we can actually multiply. If we want some darker, so we'll hold the Alt key and select that. And so that would darken some of these shadow areas, which is will add some nice contrast. So let's duplicate that just so we keep a copy in case I mess this one up. And we will put it underneath those and multiply to just like 10%. And let's see, 25%, 50%, and the whole image darkens, 25%, and let's see what it looks like. So yeah, that adds a little contrast, not bad. And we'll up our exposure again a little bit, 1.9, and it's not too bad. Bump this up a little more, 2.1. Alright, that's pretty good. Let's see, what else could we do? So that's pretty much all of these layers, the AO and the shadow. Another thing we can do is if we wanted to increase some of the gloss, so the same concept there. If we duplicate the, actually we'll look at it first. So we'll look at the direct gloss. If we wanted to get a little more gloss on the character and the skin, and these specular highlights up here, we would just duplicate that layer. So right click, duplicate, and that's an add, so it's just adding everything back in. And you see anywhere there's that specular highlight, it's amplified, which actually has a side effect of brightening just our character too, and some of these effects. So that gives you a little more contrast between the lighter parts of the image and the darker parts. So we're just lightening the lighter parts, which is good. That's a good effect. And I think we'll keep it just like that. I think it also brightened the highlights in the eyes. Yeah, it did. And then if we thought that was too much, we could just mask those out. But it looks pretty decent. I think we'll go with that. And let's see, we could look at the vibrance. See if we want to add any saturation to it. Vibrance usually we're not in the right spot. Let's go up above the image. And definitely not. Yeah, maybe we could add just a little bit there to the character. Gives us a little more color in the character skin. See if we like it. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, one thing I noticed that I messed up is this sharp line here. And that is from our shadow layer. So, and I kind of like how that darkens everything in the background. So if we're going to keep that, we should add a mask and just mask that area out so it doesn't affect that area. So we can click the mask layer button, and we want it to be white and paint it black, because white reveals and black conceals. So we will select this mask and paint. We want to paint black. And let's see, we'll move this up to 50%. I'm not very good with these either, the flow and the hardness and stuff. I should really read up on those. But anyway, so we'll just kind of paint this out a little bit. Oops, I don't want to do that. And basically all it does is, you can see on the mask, it just paints black on this area so that this view shadow layer RGB doesn't affect wherever the black areas are. So, and it's so nice to see the preview before you actually start painting. It's really neat. I don't think Photoshop does that, but anyway, there, we'll take some of that out there, and I think that was about it. We can take some of that out, but yeah, everything else looks pretty good. Okay. All right, I think, unless I find something else, I think that's a wrap.